comp with Baron, so a lot of what-ifs, but I don't believe they're pigeonholed based on champion pools into only playing the split push focused comp from game 1.
Yeah, feel like that too. We'll see exactly how this one works. There's the Zac ban on the blue side. Not something we often see.
They would do this with Blank and Peanut in the lineup at the start of the season, which is a bit of a surprise, given that Blank has a world skin on Zac, and you would think they'd be happy to first pick it on blue side, but they don't want any shenanigans to deal with. This may allow Everate to actually put a targeted ban towards SKT that otherwise would have been impossible.
Galio's going to go. So Galio with a pretty low win rate in our first series was in fact relatively ignored in the last game, but 2 losses earlier on.
And Thresh banned on blue side twice by 2 different teams.
Yeah.
It was a weird read for Everate to ban Thresh, given that there's only been a couple of games from Wolf on it earlier in the season. He didn't play it at all on 7-13 and hasn't really been focusing on it in solo queue. And they will respect the R evolution first Kha'Zix from game 1 from Marang, who started strong and then predictably started to fall away.
Now we'll see if Everate are actually going to ban away the J, so whether SKT want to be able to pick it up, because Kalista, you're exactly right, certainly available, would make some sense, as Talia just going to be targeted against Faker, and SKT can't pick up all of these priority picks they have available to them, and it looks like Elise will be the option for Peanut. Now Everate, bit of a smorgasbord when it comes to the picks available.
Does feel like Elise may be the highest priority jungler short of Zac on this patch, because it's being banned. It's a bit of an anomaly in that scenario, but it's also Peanut who does best with a dueling advantage and invade potential on his jungle. He, on Cinderhulk junglers, doesn't look like the top 3 jungler in the world is purported to be in other metas. So getting him on a Runic Echo jungler like the Elise, who has that invasion advantage, is pretty important for SKT. It's at the cost of the Kalista, but we already saw Kalista well held by Bang & Wolf in game 1, and Tristana, of course, is still available. The jungle pick here is an interesting one. We saw Haru get a lot of success on the Rengar earlier this week. But Haru is the best Rengar we have in Korea. And while Marang has a long history on the champ, there's a reason it's fallen out of meta. And being invaded by Elise can send the Rengar very far behind.
Yes, and he has a long history on Rengar, not against SKT as well. So see how he does go here, as that is a very quick Tristana lock-in. Bang, pretty happy with the matchup into Kalista. Faker, does he just pick up Orianna here? Because they were certainly happy to grab it in the first round, but Alistar, they want to deny any sort of ban coming out of Everate or any sort of Kalista combo.
Tristana Alistar's a really fun duo to cast as well. This was a duo back in Season 1 and pre-Season 1 that was seen as the strongest Tristana lane. Headbutt Pulverize into the rocket jump, into death, often followed from this duo. So cool to see it come back, and you do have that dueling advantage of Tristana over Kalista. That wasn't that relevant in the laning phase in game 1, but maybe relevant here. Everate probably just going to take support. Don't want to see that pinched, and Braum makes a lot of sense. Very powerful on the power rankings. So solo laners being searched for by both teams in the next round, and you have to feel like if SKT can take Maokai, they'll just take it again.
Yep.
I mean, Maokai Ori would be pretty happy times for the side of SKT.
I feel like Maokai Ori are really good ideas as far as bans on the side of Everate, though, but they're going to look at the LeBlanc first.
Now,
LeBlanc's had a lot of respect given to him.
LeBlanc was permanently banned against Faker in 7-13. Was very tunneled on him because it's not a champion you can carry with. He actually ignored it in game 1, which I thought was surprising. He just wanted to go team-focused, ball carrier. Like a Maokai means that Orianna is incentivized, but Faker did not have a great game on the Orianna in game 1. A lot of hula hoops on the ultimates. He'll ban it away, even though it had some synergy with the picks that were already locked in. So maybe we'll see a different side of Faker and SKT as a result.
Well, a lot of focus into this mid lane. All 3 of our bans so far in the second round have been aimed there. That's going to be the Trundle taken away, as that could potentially be SKT, like you mentioned before, looking for Maokai.
I mean, Everate could just take Maokai here. Trundle's one of the best answers to Maokai.
Yeah.
And Keen has been playing it like we say.
Saving Scepter's big till last still makes sense as well.
And with the ban, you have to imagine SKT will take it if Everate don't, so I think it would be a misdraft not to take Maokai in this scenario.
Remember, Jace was banned in game number 1. Everate haven't looked at it in the slightest here in game number 2. It is curious.
Rumble is still a very possible draft into Maokai. Was the old counter pick going the Leandri's into Void Staff and burning down the trees. Law appropriate. And so Untara will go with a pick he's well known for. Only question is, what is the blind pick mid laner? And very quickly answer, going to be the Lucian blind pick. We saw a lot of Lucian bans in Series 1 of today. Clearly the Lucian mid lane trend has not ended on patch 7.14. Can just go into Black Cleaver Blade, the Ruin King. But every option open for Sceptid, who, if you remember, was 3-0 and doing very well on Syndra in Game 1. Could just return to it in Game 2.
Yeah, happily grabbed that one. Of course, Faker has played Lucian once and picked up the victory on that champion as well. Hasn't died yet on Lucian so far in the summer season. We'll see whether that's going to continue this game around, but my god, SKT, it's not necessarily full tank meta this time with the Rumble being picked up. They have a lot of options when it comes to engage and pick and late game damage as well.
It's a tempo draft from SKT, trying to get the Tristana out of lane and push, because Rumble will outpush the Maokai. The Tristana and Alistar have a lot of options in the bot lane as well. Lucian, double 80 carry, means they have good siege options, or even if they don't have the biggest range on the Lucian. It's a flexible draft from SKT, but you're right, it's not just, I hear Tranks is strong, Cho'Gath in the top lane, very standard. It is kind of the fusion of previous SKT with the new meta. So while we won't be seeing ultra tanks, it is a quintessentially SKT draft.
Yeah, and I just love Wolf being back on the Alistar as well, because that's the difference between SKT's Game 2 draft and Everate's Game 1 draft, is that Kennen isn't going to offer any tankiness, whereas the Unbreakable Will, especially after the buffs, is certainly going to do that. That's going to be a matchup there. As Everate, they've jumped onto the tank meta hype train. SKT have just jumped off.
Pretty easy way to summate it, I agree. Some engage from support SKT have desperately needed for multiple games. They have it here, Wolf on the Alistar. It's a match made in heaven.
Yep, and he certainly looked good on a game number 1. We'll see whether SKT is going to be able to make this a 2-0, whether it's going to be Everate winners striking back.
That'd be a cheer. Okay,
there we are. Well, it's a lot of T1 fighting happening, Papa Smithy. But that wasn't everyone yelling.
Whoa.
We got a packed house right here. Good God, that is incredible. Unfortunately,
she must be really sad that Huni's not playing.
Yeah. There's the Lee Sin.
Peanut and Blank. See, unbiased jungle supporter.
And this is also perfect because they know that one of them's going to be playing.
I know the Cowbell's playing. Wolf did this in Game 1. Ella hit the skill shot and then lost the game. Coincidence?
Ooh, I think not.
Don't do it, Ella.
Oh, Ella's actually dancing in time. Nice.
He hit the skill shot as well.
He did. Nailed it.
2-0 SKT.
Confirmed.
He's trying to cancel the animation in mid-sound.
Yeah, he's just like, he doesn't want it to be the same rhythm. This is just the slower one. You know, we've dropped the timing. The metronome's been brought down.
There's something funny about channeling the SKT skin recall in the face of Bang.
Yeah. But Bang doesn't seem to mind about it. He's actually gone for the Dragon Tamer, my personal favorite Tristana skin. Stepping away from the adorable witchy one.
A bit of lightheartedness before what SKT are probably going to hope is a surgical game, because that's what we're kind of saying in the post-game for Game 1. Wasn't necessarily ideal. This is a pretty strong invade coming through from SKT contesting the Raptors.
Yeah. Do have a man disadvantage, though, talking about that, as Malrung with his red claws going to be able to take down these Raptors.
You think back to Game 1, and you're not ready to say quintessential SKT. You're not really willing to lay the superlatives, because Everate had a pretty big advantage in the early to mid game. They could have played out the late game in a way that, sure, would they have won? We're not sure, but they had options, right? They could have put down Vision. We mentioned that SKT were very short on Vision themselves, not buying enough control wards, and then Everate made one decision-making mistake around Baron, and then sure, the tank comp there, Baron buff, they can dive. From there, it worked for SKT. SKT still have not hit their old level by any means, that's for sure.
Oh, okay, Jewel just tanking Bang's damage. That explosive shot's going to go off, but not that much with this amount of points in it. But still, bit of pressure. Level 2 gained by Jewel. Ella actually a little bit further behind. Got to get
Faker's
stay in range.
invading at level 2.
Odd.
Okay.
Sepid takes a fair bit of damage. Q from Faker, but look at how much magic resist this guy's got. He took nothing from that Q.
Peanut hit level 3, pathing his way to top. Pretty good idea of where Malrang is at, so definitely a counter gank potential here.
Oh, Malrang actually just going to launch himself out here. There's no mana on the Elise.
Really good repel.
Yeah, going to get his way out.
He repelled during the last second of the flash twisted advance. That was sick play from Peanut. His mechanics never in doubt.
Tara moving away from his lane almost completely, and these minions have got very, very confused. So they're not really much going to come from it. Malrang just going to head back, continue taking the Krugs. Nothing to see here.
There is something that was inside Atlas, and that was that Keen used his flash to try to look for that collapse and got no value from it. So Maokai, not normally someone you want to chain gank. Maybe there's an outside chance that'll be viable in this game.
Oh man, Faker on a pressure laner is just so... It just feels so bad to watch how the enemy laner is being treated.
Well, you talked about Faker being on a pressure laner. It is very much the same identity for Untara in the top lane. Sure, Rumble has been nerfed since the old Rumble vs Maokai days, but more points he gets in queue, more he's going to push in the Maokai, who desperately wants to farm until he gets Spectre's Cowl, and Faker's basically proxying the minion wave here.
Yep, Scepter cannot approach it at all. Even Ardent Blaze has to be respected. Just look at this. Light Slinger down to 200 health is Scepted, and that is his last potion wearing off. Yeah, Faker's, so he'll be here a while. Faker's
Lucian in solo queue has got so many highlight reels already that while we've seen some of it in competitive play, we haven't seen the greatest hits, and it was Faker versus Scepted where Faker was able to just completely undo Scepted's confidence on Victor in that game too, famously.
Surprise Rumble from the jungle lands the double harpoons, and they know that Scepter just
this might not be over.
Flash comes in. There's the flash from Peanut, but he misses it. Does have to get himself up into the air, but now on Tara, he has to get out. Faker moves himself up, and thankfully he has control of the minion wave as SKT unable to quite make that dive work, as now Keen getting himself down here. That sapling will spell SKT's disengage.
The dive itself may have been over-aggression, but the rotation was super smart from SKT. Untara had push lead. He knew that Keen was not incentivized to roam because his flash was down. And if there wasn't the smart check from Malrang, the level 3 Rengar might have died in a single rotation. So nice collapse, bit over-aggressive. Predictably, when you have Peanut on the team, that's what can happen. But SKT make the first roam and 400 gold up just on CS.
Dual trading nicely down here towards the bottom side of the map, and Malrang does have his flash. Now Peanut doesn't. So Everate with an opportunity to make something happen, but SKT in the driver's seat otherwise, especially with the lane pressure that you alluded to earlier on, Papa Smithy. These solo lanes are not getting any better for Everate. I feel like we are going to be looking towards Malrang to get to that level 6. Has level 5 now, approaching that mark relatively soon.
About a minute and a half away, about 4 camps I think it will be. 3 at the minimum.
He just hits every piercing line.
He's super good at Lucian, which not a surprise given his reputation. Pop 6 and just use the culling to once again try and force Scepted out of lane.
Yeah, any sort of advantage that he can get against the Scepted with absolutely no potions, no regen at all. And there's the ult coming out. We've got Malrang heading over as Untara. He's just going to get flashed on. Flashes the other way, just walks himself down the red carpet. And that is just unfortunate for Everate winners.
Yeah, follows the actual equalizer, knows that Malrang, who had already used his flash, had no way to gap close again. So smart play from Untara. You're not spotted in a ward, just looking for some very deep vision. Puts down a control ward in the second brush, but with the information, Malrang will know to path around it or clear that ward. You're not looking for the turret dive again.
Yeah, Scepted spots him just at the very end of that ward.
But isn't it good to see SKT playing around pressure with knowing that Rumble will have the perma push on Maokai this early in the game? Happy to take any skirmishes in the area and thus pathing around the red side jungle. It's also such a gambit to draft Rengar into Elise, where sure, if your lanes are stronger and the Rengar can come in with ultimate, you have kill pressure on an Elise, but if it goes the other way, if you fall behind, you're a farming jungler against an Elise, and that so often can be your undoing.
Scepted still looking for these Qs onto Faker, who just seems to have infinite health here in this lane. Now with the Vamp Scepter completed, Going towards, obviously, the the Blade of the Ruin King first. Just happy to take cues from Scepted. He got stunned, doesn't care. And he's the one that's able to heal himself back up just with his auto attacks and continue this unrelenting pressure. It feels like there are no good options for Scepted in this lane, which is weird to say for a Syndrome.
And play around the pressure. Invade with Peanut, who has been relentless in invading this jungle. Rengar will get his red buff, which maybe is more than he might have gotten if SKT had been slightly more proactive in that roam.
Yep, does have Thrill of the Hunt now as well. That level 6 mark has been hit. Peanut, of course, has his as well, but isn't as happy with it. He can still transform into stuff.
Marang waiting an award. Waiting for what to be cleared, I should say.
Yep, we'll take down the Rift Scuttle. Scuttles away from his bowler as well, which is a little bit frustrating.
Wolf actually stops the back from being interrupted, but Duel and Ella can't realistically take down an Alistar with everything available.
Yep, first back comes in for Bang as there's the equalizer actually landing really nicely under both Scepted and Malrang. There's the culling, that'll do it. Outside of vision, but who cares? Faker grabs first blood. Deserve it as well after what has been an incredibly dominant laning phase.
And great to see from Untara as well, as Wolf will interrupt the back from Ella. Untara, who's been playing the split pushes and often losing lane or being caught, is the one making the roams, this time not into the enemy jungle, but visiting mid lane knowing Scepted's flash is down. Starting to be those multifaceted decisions from SKT that separated them from other teams, playing around things like Summoner Spell cooldowns so well. The end result is that Scepted goes down, Faker gets to grow his CS lead, get the preferential back time, get his way pretty damn close to finishing the Blade of the Ruin King.
Yeah, we'll see what he can actually pick up of that one now as well. Does decide to go with the Hex Drinker. Can't quite afford the Bilgewater Cutlass just yet. He's waiting. That's going to be the Control Ward to come in the back pocket. So
it's also the purchase that allows him to overextend in the face of a Syndra even more than a Bilgewater and a recurve bow would.
Scepter grabs his blue buff. Not a lot of good news stories to say about this Syndra at the moment, but he does at least have his Sorcerer's Shoes, so a little bit of extra movement speed should help him out. If there are more rumbles heading towards his lane, it is still going to be dangerous. One good thing is that this dual Ella bottom lane has certainly gone better this game.
The awkward factor for Everraid is if you consider what the draft was supposed to do, was that Syndra was supposed to have at least parity with Lucian. It's not a great matchup for Syndra, to be honest, so one of the worst when it comes to laning matchups, but obviously not as far behind as it's evolved to be. Faker on pressure laners. Maple remembers from MSI what can happen with his Cassio play against Maple's LeBlanc, but this was supposed to be Malrang just chain ganking top lane because Untara twisted advance into the empowered bowler into death is what you want to do with Rengar Maokai. But Rengar has been invaded so many times, set behind in level, set behind in pressure, that Malrang has had to shadow his lanes rather than make proactive plays like Haru was yesterday on Samsung in Game 1. And then Rengar really is just a farming jungler who's ripe to be invaded by an Elise. So it's been kind of the worst case scenario for Malrang, who's just chased out of the jungle by Faker.
And speaking of worst case scenarios, that's going to be the kill. Bang grabs it onto Jewel, and Ella has to run away. That explosive shot did so much damage.
You can tell because he didn't use Fate's Court, heal, or flash. Just straight up died.
Felt a little bit like the Maha Kalista from Game 1 in our first series of the night, Pop Smithy. But I also was very surprised by that explosion.
Genuine reactions from both of us. I was like, well, that's not how damage calculation is supposed to go.
It's like not like boom, 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 dead. It's normally boom, boom, boom. Oh, a little bit more damage. Yay! That was just a pop.
Same time, Peanut getting a free Rift Herald on the other side of the map. SKT are just going to hope, but it's kind of playing as if 7-13 was a bad dream.
Yeah.
And that it didn't happen, because they're, at least in Game 2, resetting to the sort of SK Telecom that dominated the last 4 years of competitive League of Legends. Game 1 certainly had some holes in their draft, and in their gameplay mostly, but also in the draft a little bit. They certainly weren't on the same page and were bailed out by a late-game Tristana, this time playing around pressure smartly, enacting multi-step plans, getting Avengers cross-map as Rengar is slowly farming, and also minimizing their weaknesses, which is largely Untara being chain-ganked in the top. So that's been good to see from SKT, and As you can see, it's the second time they've put down a control ward in the enemy red side jungle.
The thing I'm scared about, Papa Smithy, is how much we're actually learning from this game. Because SKT being better than the bottom team here in LCK is something that you should assume, right? But whereabouts do they fall after this series is said and done? Say this is going to be a 2-0 for SKT. How happy should SKT fans be?
If they had two games like Game 1, actually I would say not very happy, because Game 1 was sloppy. There were mistakes they could have lost, and their vision control was pretty poor. They've corrected a lot of those mistakes in Game 2 with a pressure draft, and it's what they've done is a blueprint to play League of Legends well, not a blueprint to beat Ever 8 Winners, the 10th place team in the LCK. Now, can they do that against better teams? Will they be able to do it reliably? I don't have the answers to those questions, but Game 2 is going to leave a lot more of a lasting impression than Game 1.
Especially if they can continue this pressure moving forward. It looks like they should be able to, if that blueprint that you were talking about is anything to go by. They're continuing to add pressure towards this bottom side of the map. You can see that tower very close to going down as Malrong will be able to get rid of this ward. Ever 8 should at least keep control of vision in their jungle on the bottom side, but this Infernal Drake looks to belong to SKT. Bang's going to make it a bottom outer turret as well, make it first brick and solo gold to the Tristana. So we saw what happened when he was given all of the gold in game number 1. It looks to be happening once again, plus an Infernal Drake on top of it. This is called having your cake and eating it too, because they even took the Rift Herald.
Bot lane.
Yeah, Fate's gold, there's the flash. And that's going to be traded for a rocket jump cooldown. And
that was flash from Duel, just to get him in range of the Fate's call. So, low percentage play at best. Septon wants to interrupt Peanut. That would have cancelled the channel on the Rift Herald, but not able to. And now Wolf's doing his own roaming mission.
Yep, there are teleports happening everywhere. As there's the headbutt. Oh, really good equalizer. Pulverize comes in as well just to keep them on that red carpet. Turret falls mid lane, but the story is that Wolf is going to fall down, actually, and Ever 8 Winners looking to try and turn this one around. They lose the Kalista, but that's a 2-for-1 trade. But the turret did fall. Now Peanut getting chased by Septon, not a lot of mana, and Malrong getting himself up here as well, but look at this. The Rift Herald still doing damage to this inner turret as Peanut just wants to help it do its job.
Yeah, first mistake of the game for SKT. Were a bit too aggro in the bot lane while Malrong was on that side of the jungle and able to react, and they had a numbers disadvantage. And SKT would have preferred just to have Peanut and Faker take down the turrets faster in mid lane and not trade anyone, but they got greedy, trying to look for extra kills that weren't necessary. They were already winning in basically every scenario. So Ever 8 get a couple on the board. I think at the end of the game, it won't necessarily be significant. We watched the replay, and it's pretty clear what SKT want to do, but notice that Peanut was already actually tending towards the top lane at the time. He walks down from basically where the control ward is on the top side. He's never going to get to the bot lane, and Malrong is bot side. For once, he's going to be on this side of the map, and Untara, upon seeing the threat indicator from the Rengar, realizes the only way he can even hope to trade is to flash aggressively, so condemns an extra flash. A bit too rash there from SKT, but not the sort of play that will lose in the game.
No, not quite. Now SKT, predictably, will just move towards this. Top lane, continue their onslaught on structures. They did the Ever 8 from game 1, taking down both of the turrets in the mid lane, but now Ever 8 is setting themselves up to try and get this collapse. They clear out the vision. Now Ella's going to get here. Rocket jump on cooldown, but they don't find the Winter's Bite. Oh, depressingly slow kitties. Look at how long they are.
It's true.
That's some
Alistair was CC'd for a long time.
He was, by a long kit. Okay, Untara's going to continue splitting on the bottom side of the map. Septon will turn up, clear out those minions, and thankfully, Ever 8 were at least able to stop the pressure on top. But they probably would have liked to be able to actually collapse 4 members to get a kill. As Faker throws out his Blade of the Ruin King, that's a lot of damage. Even Piercing Light doing a bunch of work. There's the culling. And this is when you know that Faker means business. When he's just culling people through their base gate at 17 minutes.
You also know how much map control SKT has, that Faker feels like he can do that. And he's not just going to be collapsed from a different direction. The ward line has been strong. Ever 8 have only now put some control wards top side to get some semblance of control back on the map, but even taking the Raptors feels like a bit of an overextension from Ever 8 based on where the game is at 17 minutes.
Yeah. All right, King getting burned down. Oh, my fantasy. The class fantasy working out so well.
The 2-item build from Rumbles evolved out of this matchup between Maokai and Rumble. The Leandre's into Void Staff, so you'd have enough pressure to actually push a Maokai out of lane once he inevitably rushed for his Spirit Visage.
In solo queue, if you actually get this matchup and you're the Maokai, you should choose the charred Maokai skin as well.
Lore appropriate.
Yeah, just you got to continue that complete lore option.
SKT continuing their complete full court press in the enemy red side jungle plan. They've enacted from the start of the game. Basically, every red buff has been contested off spawn.
Yeah. This is just this. Oh, nice work, Jewel.
Fade away.
Yeah. Fade away, jump shot, rend. Ooh. Very nice. 5,000 gold, though, is the lead for SKT, so Ever8's going to have to steal a heck of a lot more red buffs to get themselves a lead back in this game. Scepter casually wandering towards Faker. He does get stunned, and there's some more red carpet going down. Jeez. Oh, my goodness. So much damage.
Heals just for safety, so they don't have vision of the red side jungle. Wasn't sure if it's going to be collapsed upon by Elise during that passage of play.
Yeah. And look at it. I mean, they've got vision everywhere moving up towards the base of Ever8, pretty much.
I mean, this is the sort of
decorated jungle.
It's sort of game where you can wonder, will Ever8 ever have a ward more advanced than the river? And the answer is probably not.
Yeah. Would they be even able to walk there? Because it seems that SKT are just patrolling, trying to get picks. Finally, Peanut will go back to base. See what we can actually pick up, whether it is going to be Leandre's Torment for him, or whether he wants to turn that cloth armor into something.
Ooh, Brom, pop a ward over. Okay, yeah, that counts. All right, you did
nice.
it, right?
Gets there. Will they ever make it into the enemy jungle? That is the next mission. The quest.
Realistic goals.
Yeah, there it is. Talking about quests in a game that Rengar's in as well, definitely a good feeling.
No Kha'Zix for the lore battle.
Oh, the ultimate quest. We've been talking about lore a lot. I feel like that just would have been so much better. However, Malrang would have to be doing battle with himself, as he was the one playing the Kha'Zix earlier. He was banned, of course. This game.
Cheeky cowbell.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, Malrang.
Faker's happy to solo kill Malrang.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's a minion wave there, but Faker seems to not care. He's still got the flash. Actually thought he might burn it there just to kill Malrang, but he's going to get himself out. Keen in trouble on the bottom side of the map. No jungler to keep him healthy or safe. Thrill of the Hunt is there if Malrang is able to get himself back down towards the bottom side of the map. But so far, this Rengar has certainly not looked like it's working out despite being able to get that first kill towards the top side of the map.
And the highest praise you can pay SKT they deserve for their Game 2 performance is it really feels like the old catchphrases and thoughts about SK Telecom from a month and a half ago apply to them in this game as well. You know, for the longest time, we knew what SKT represented. Late game macro, late game team fighting. But then there was a phase, you know, that 9-game losing streak where it felt like they didn't deserve their history. The history of what we understood to be SKT didn't apply to the team we were seeing on the Rift, but it does apply to them here. It has been the multi-stage plans. It has been smart decision-making, and it has been suffocating the life out of their opponents, which is what they have been best known for throughout all the rosters, is making it so even if you want to take your Raptors, that's going to be a battle on its own, because SKT own both sides of the map.
Cool. Okay. Malrang certainly on the ball when it comes to his W empowerment. He's going to be able to utilize that to get out of the way of the Cocoon. Yeah, and I think you're exactly right. And I feel like if you're someone who was asleep for most of July and you've woken up now, you're like, well, nothing's really changed. I can go back to sleep. As Faker tries to cull down Sceptered once again. Scepted's been taking a lot of Lucian bullets today. It's not having a great time. But yeah, it's just, this is the SKT that we know and love. We know that they can still do it. They can still do it against Ever8. Who else can they still do it against?
I mean, know and love is definitely for the SKT fans. Learn to love for the rest of us who've had to begrudgingly deal with the dominance of SKT for the longest time. But it's just a single game against Ever8 where they've really looked like their old standards. So we're not willing to completely write off the past. SKT want to write off the Baron, and they're doing it damn fast.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage. Okay, Ella is going to get a Winter's Bite in there and says, yep, they've done the Baron. As he flashes to the right. That was actually really clever, making sure Wolf is going to headbutt him towards his base, as opposed to the other way. So no pick, but is easily going to be the Baron. And Everett winners just say, well, I guess we had no real options there because we have no vision apart from one cheeky ward that I believe they probably shouldn't have on their river. That's a gimme from SKT. Like, you can keep that one. That one will allow.
And SKT just pile on what they probably think will be the final item purchases of this game.
Oh no, it's that depressing moment where the observer says, yeah, they haven't taken any damage off outer turrets.
Nope. Well, Maokai was never going to do damage to Rumble's turret. Lucian.
He has the highest base damage out of any other melee character in the game.
But he can't get to it, Atlas. That's his bigger problem. And Lucian was proxying the Syndra early in the game.
It looks like the Fnatic gank brush will be the opportunity here for Everett. They're just going to move over some vision. Faker's going to relentlessly pursue and exit.
All the meanwhile, when you're grouping for a gank brush, it means that in your side lanes, you're going to be very weak, Atlas, as the inner turret goes down.
Yep. Bang just casually taking down structures extremely fast. And can they even get back here in time? There's definitely no Maokai. Bang feels like he's more than capable.
Explosive charge.
Ella puts up the door.
Explosive charge was on cooldown, so couldn't get great majority of the HP down. But as Maokai abandons top lane, he'll take a bit of chip damage from the Rumble.
Yeah. Tara getting the auto attacks in there. Oh. Nicely done. Love it when the menu wave arrives just in time to pick up the aggro.
Big CS leads. Every lane for SKT. They're just getting access to CS, being denied to turrets. Okay, emergency engage.
Yeah, he's going to cancel the rocket jump there as well as in goes Ella, but unable to follow it up with much at all. Wolf going to flash. Unbreakable will wear off.
Here's Maokai.
Yeah, not quite going to be able to get in there as now Wolf just going to re-engage, wants to find the stuns as Jewel pulls out the sticks, and that is going to be the victory on Tara, utilizing this time that Everett have decided to engage, and will just take half the health bar of this inhibitor turret.
Yeah, the re-engage was smart. It was not actually to start provoke a fight, it was getting to disengage off of Lucian and just accept the free kill onto the Alistar. All in the meantime on Tara, just turbo pushing down the inhibitor turret. Won't get all of it, but did take the inner turret during Wolf's death.
Yeah, did a lot of meaningful damage there as well as Bang moves towards this mid lane. Faker taking care of the bottom side. Every wave getting pressured. SKT feeling like certainly worth multiple members of Everett at the moment. That was sick.
That's being confident in your recall time.
Yeah, that was like Neo levels of like classic Faker, you know.
The classic Faker soundboard may have to be once again taken out of the archives as SK Telecom are putting in much better performance than they have in recent times. They have another easy opposition, at least by their standards this week, in Rox Tigers, who have actually been noticeably worse recently than they were right at the onset post-Rift Rivals.
Yeah. Still getting themselves back into a good position. Even the kitty cat can't find any damage as Faker. There's the culling once again. You expect him to use it, but does get stunned out of it this time.
SKT's goal will be top 3 right now. They are 2 matches behind. We'll move to 10 match wins with a win here. Desperate to get to 11. That's where Samsung and the rest of the pack are at, but with 4 match wins, difficult to get there. Remember that 4th or 5th place, which is where SKT is likely to finish, would be the wild card as bot lane.
Yeah, can't actually rocket jump out as Bang takes an ultimate, but not even half of his health bar has been removed. Ella sets up the door slightly awkwardly as Marong jumps his way in, but look at the damage burst. Has to flash his way out on Tara. No, not enough Ren stacks in there at all, and thankfully for Everett, no one's died just yet, but
Faker!
There it goes. Faker flashing forward, picks up the Callista. Now Kane has to Twisted advance his way out of the fight, and this should spell the death of this inhibitor turret.
Let's move on to the mid lane as Tristana polishes off the bot lane. Minimum 2 inhibitors here for SKT.
Only able to get the 1 pick, but now 5 versus 4 when Everett are behind. It's a 12,000 gold lead out of nowhere as Malrong just takes about 3 shots from Faker, and that spells half his health bar. This Lucian going pretty ballistic at this stage of the game. And they're not going to stop. Nexus turret's now under fire. Multiple minions here to tank things up as SKT fan out around this. Explosive charge going to do it. They're going to leave the last remaining inhibitor turret because they know the duel. Back up again, 5 versus 5 in the enemy base. Not something that SKT want to do just yet. And they'll go back and spend their buckets of change.
To the tune of 12,000 gold lead over Everett. We're going to see a replay. Everett try a lot of emergency engages here. Interrupt on the rocket jump from Bang by the Fate's Call. That was a good start. Malrang also is able to get into the middle of the fight. but is not able to do any real damage. And while Keen also gets the flank, consider all these things happen disconnected, and there was no one in the backline joining the Maokai to actually do damage onto the Tristana as Faker realizes that all the immediate threat is gone and flash aggressively to try to clean up at least one kill. And now with the gold spent, we're looking at some pretty significant item discrepancies between the two sides.
I have to say as well that animation cancelling of the Light Slinger auto attacks was beautiful, piercing light. But, you know, talking about how good Faker is at mechanics is a pretty silly thing to do. That is 2 inhibitors now down. Everraid, not a whole lot of options now, and it's felt like they've been suffocated out of this game since the very beginning. But like you indicated before, I mean, it's how SKT win that we need to be judging this game off. Game number 2, certainly a fantastic situation for the team as Ella, okay, looking for it. Oh God, the door, is it enough? Doesn't even look like it is Keen. He's gonna take a whole bunch of his health bar, and Faker, just a one-man wrecking crew happily underneath the turret, tanking it up himself. The last inhibitor will fall down. And remember, there are super creeps now crashing towards one Nexus turret. Everraid's going to have some sort of hella heroic performance here, but Wolf is going to deny it. Equalizer's fantastic as Keen gets his way in. The kiddies are trying to do the work that they can, but it just doesn't seem like enough as Keen's going to go down first. Faker now pushing forward. Good stuns out actually, but bang, he does a lot of work. Faker will fall in the end, but look, even the creeps are not enough for Everraid to deal with.
Let's look to close the game. This will be SK Telecom ending their 9-game losing streak with a win. SKT fans, which litter the audience, are stoked. But Atlas, there was no question more frequently asked of me in the past month or so than what is happening with SKT, what needs to change, and are they going to get better? And do we learn anything definitively from